Hey guys, the Black Critic Guy here with another edition of Food for Thought. Now recently, as my reviewing skills have matured, I started to think back to some of my past videos and past reviews and wondering whether or not they still hold up today. And what I mean by hold up is, are the points still clear and are the reasons for the grades that I gave it justified? And thankfully most of them are. But there are a few that if I had the chance, I would definitely redo. Now, it's not to say that I'm ashamed of these videos or that I was wrong in a sense. I still stand by my past videos and what they had to say, because at that moment when I was reviewing an anime or a character, that's how I felt at that moment about an anime or a character. But as I started to look deeper into what the anime was trying to say, and as my reviewing skills have matured, I started to notice some of the things I may have missed at that time that I now see today. Hopefully that didn't sound too convoluted and too pretentious. Now, there were a handful of videos that when I look back at them, I said to myself, yeah, I could have executed that a little better, or yeah, I could have phrased that a little differently, or yeah, I could have redone that video to make it a little better. But the one that really stood out, as bizarre as this may sound, was my School Days review. Shocking, huh? Now, I know many of you know what School Days is about and why it's so infamous, but I know there is a small percentage of people out there who have never heard of School Days, so I will give you a brief overview about what School Days is. School Days is an anime based off of a visual novel by the same name that follows Makoto Ito, a high school boy who becomes enamored with this girl named Kotonoha, and with the assistance of his friend Sekai, he starts dating her. As their relationship continues, Makoto begins to feel unsatisfied sexually with Kotonoha, which leads him to cheat on her with Sekai. Shocker! He continues to have sex with Sekai while still being in a relationship with Kotonoha, the bastard, but soon grows sick of Sekai and starts sleeping with other various girls. Long story short, the situation escalates, and by the end, it doesn't turn out well for Makoto, ending with the most befitting demise for a character like Makoto. Now, I gave this anime a lot of flack when I first saw it for its subpar animation, a somewhat weak story, and just downright unlikable characters. In fact, I would almost say that the last reason alone was what made me really hate School Days and consider it not only a huge waste of time, but one of the worst animes I have ever seen. But recently, using my critical mind, I began to think, was School Days as an anime really all that bad? I mean, yeah, the characters are horrible and despicable people that should be ashamed of themselves, but were they terribly executed characters? Now, this has been an issue that has been brought up to me a lot in the comment section, especially in my top 10 worst anime characters, male and female, as to what defines a bad character. Are they bad because they're poorly executed, terribly developed, and have no interesting attributes whatsoever? Or are they bad because I personally don't agree with the path that the character takes, the actions that the character commits, and the overall behavior of the character? And for me, I definitely fall under the latter part of that statement. Because I like to empathize and be emotionally invested in the main character's journey in an anime, when the main character commits an act that I find despicable, I tend to react emotionally to the action, which makes me think badly of the character, which then makes them a bad character in my eyes. And that's exactly how I felt about the main character of School Days, Makoto. He is the guy that we're supposed to follow and empathize when he's being such a complete fucking asshole to all these girls? Why? I don't want to feel sorry for this guy. I don't want him to succeed. The only feelings that I have for this character is of complete hatred. And that's where I missed what this character's purpose in the anime was. You see, as I mature in my reviewing ways, I'm starting to recognize that although I personally find Makoto and the other characters featured on my top 10 worst anime characters list as morally bad, that doesn't necessarily make them badly represented or even executed characters. We hate them because we're supposed to hate them. They are bad by design. I mean, if you created a villain that's supposed to come off as menacing but comes off as a pussy, then yeah, you created a badly executed character because you weren't able to convey the terror that the audience is supposed to feel when the character comes on screen. Whereas if you created a villain that's supposed to feel menacing and he comes off as menacing and terrifying, then you executed that character perfectly. So that now brings us to the characters of School Days. Yes, morally they are despicable characters, but that's the whole point of the anime. We're supposed to hate a majority of these characters. We're supposed to hate Makoto for cheating on Kotonoha and fucking every girl that he sees. We're supposed to hate Sekai for misleading Makoto and for ruining their relationship. And vice versa, we're supposed to be sympathetic to Kotonoha's plight as she's being cheated upon by the one guy that she really likes. Now that's not to say that all the characters in School Days were despicable people. There were two characters that I did end up liking by the end of the anime. The first one being Kotonoha. I felt so bad for this character, and I really sympathized with her plight, dealing with an asshole-ish boyfriend that cheats on her time and time again, and she still ends up loving the motherfucker. I mean, seriously. She has dedication, and I really felt bad that she had to deal with such a piece of shit person like Makoto. The other character is Setsuna, the best friend of Kotonoha, who was dealing with the issue of liking her best friend's boyfriend but hiding her true feelings in order to not hurt her best friend's feelings. Those two alone were the most fascinating and layered characters in this entire anime. Now, as for story, at first when I saw the anime, I thought the story was weak and generic, but now that I look back at it, honestly, it's probably one of the most original anime stories I've ever watched. I mean, yeah, the concept at the beginning has been done to death. High school boy meets high school girl and forms a relationship with each. But it's the execution and the presentation that makes it really stand out from the pack. I mean, seriously, how many of you have honestly seen an anime quite like School Days? Not that much, huh? At least I personally haven't seen an anime quite like School Days. I mean, it is a surprisingly different take on the whole visual novel based genre, and I think that's the main reason why it's so hated. Humans by nature are creatures of habit. We like to keep things in a certain way so that it's predictable instead of uncertain. We hate uncertainty. So when something comes around that challenges the status quo of what we're used to, we kind of have this knee-jerk reaction, especially in the entertainment field. I can't tell you how many times I see people get irritated when you remake something and it's not to their liking. Exactly. And that's what makes School Days such a fascinating anime. It challenges a norm that we're used to with visual novel based animes and presents it in a original, unique, and different perspective in the genre. That is not to say that I didn't find any problems with this anime. I still find the animation very subpar and some of the characters could have been a little bit more developed. But with all that said, I now bring back the question I asked earlier. Is School Days as an anime really that bad? In my opinion, no, not at all. I know, it's really shocking, but that's just how I truly feel. Yes, most of the characters are terrible and despicable people from a moral standpoint, and yes, the story is a bit of a shell shock when compared to other visual novel based animes, but the characters were made to be that way. They're supposed to be hated. And if we feel anger and resentment towards those characters, then the creators did their job well. And though the story structure may be the same in some parts, it took risk and took its story in a fresh and surprisingly different direction that helps it stand out on its own and have its own identity. Not only that, but it's one of the few animes that really tackles on the issue of cheating and teenage sexual lust and its effect on people. Not a lot of animes really address that issue. I may have been a bit too harsh on School Days when I first saw it because I let my emotions and my comfort of the standard really cloud my judgment, but if I were to ever redo that review, I probably would have given it a much higher grade. But does that mean I now like the characters? Hell no. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes this session of Food for Thought. And I would really like to know your opinions on this topic. Do you still think that School Days is a god-awful and terrible anime even after seeing this video? Or do you now have a new outlook and perspective after seeing this video on School Days, and you're now thinking that School Days is not as bad of an anime as you once thought before? Be sure to comment below and let me know. And stay tuned, I have a movie review coming your way, and also this weekend is MegaCon. I hope to buy a lot of merchandise, go to a lot of panels, and do a lot of videos for you guys. So stay tuned for that, and until then, hit that subscribe button if you're new to my channel. Welcome to the Black Critic Guy. Like this video if you really enjoyed it, and I'm Tony Wilder II, the Black Critic Guy. Till then, peace YouTube.